Every masterpiece has its copy, that's what they say, right? So who needs Gears of War when you got Quantum Theory? Just with a name like that, you will feel like a genius like Einstein, since he also did some quantum theorying, which you will do too if you play this game. Your brain will expand not because of the newly gained knowledge, but because of all the veins in your brain wanting to pop out. On first glance, it's totally the most generic third-person shooter made during this generation of consoles. Brown and grey, only dark colors are being used, because who needs color? I'm happy HDR is a big thing nowadays, so developers use colors again to make them pop on the TV of people who spend a lot of money on those TVs. Look at the guy's running animation, it looks like he's in pain because running with a posture like that can't be healthy. He's gonna be like the hunchback of Notre Dame one day. Keep your back straight, especially when you sit. Don't let your spine get deformed. I would insert a chair sponsorship if I had one here, but you don't need a chair when you're running. Just don't run like him. Right after that, you will also notice how low the sensitivity of the game is without changing it, and I don't really play shooters much on consoles. Actually, I don't really play them much on PC either anymore, except for back in the day when I was playing way too much Counter-Strike 1.6 all the time because my school grades were kinda suffering because of that, but I just had to immediately go into the options to change the sensitivity. And then you also already get to see the game's most unique feature. You have a girl you can throw and she slashes up enemies, which is pretty damn cool. Girls are cool, swords are cool, cutting up enemies and everyone who wants you in life is cool. What more could you ask for? Too bad we don't deserve good things, so she just dies because she's a part of this arc that we destroyed, so she has no more power and goes poof, so the MC can just bout some edgy words that would already tell you everything you need to know about this game's story. It's trashy as hell, but also entertaining enough to satisfy the inner manly man inside of you. Guns, violence, big beefy men who eat 5 tons of beef jerky every single day, girls in some sexy outfits, explosions, big worms, one-liners, it has it all. You may not expect it, but I'm kinda into all of those things, especially the big worms. Also except if the men are too beefy because I prefer twins, so that's one of my complaints. I would rather play as a twin, but you can't have everything in life. Put in someone like Raiden and you already would have made the game better. Muscles are fine, but there's a thing such as too much muscle. I understand people who want to look like Arnie, the Terminator, but have you ever known someone who wants to look like Marcus from Gears of War or like Sid? Just Sid.
Name's Sid. Just Sid.
Also, I have to apologize for the thumbnail. I think people put the most effort into a thumbnail for something they love. I love the Xenoblade franchise, so whenever I make a video about them, I try to make an appealing thumbnail. But here I just couldn't do it. The game made me so mad at points, I couldn't force myself to draw anything for it. It's totally not an excuse because I have no clue how to draw heavy armor. Now, you might think, wow, this really sucks. A third-person shooter with beefy men, aliens just fighting in some bleak-looking streets in some random city. It's totally generic, right? And yeah, it pretty much is. But then you see this. That tower that could be straight from some Final Fantasy game and you realize, hey, you know what? I have a bit of hope that we will actually get something that isn't just a grey street. And that hope goes out because you're back in bleak streets, but the hope immediately comes back after hearing an amazing line, such as this.
Is that shit eating a truck?
Something like that.
So you see the tower towering in the distance, and the goal is simple. Get to the tower and get inside of it. And how do you do that? By punching the door so it opens. Even though explosions did nothing to it. Do you think Chris Redfield could open it like this? I don't think so. Even I could punch a boulder with enough power. But a door like this, no shot. That just shows us that Sid is better than Chris. And now, one of the redeeming features of the game. The inside of the tower, it actually has a somewhat inspiring art direction at times with it. It has an insect hive vibe to it, which I enjoy, and there's multiple stages throughout the game when climbing it where it also kinda puts back the grey stuff, but not as bad as a whole damn grey city. Nothing's worse than that. If I want to see an ugly city, I can basically just go into any big city in the world. I totally don't hate big cities, I don't prefer the country life. In the tower, things may be dark sometimes too, but they got a decent edgy look to it. But the generic kind of edge, not the unique kind. Not too bad, but it makes you wish they would have went with a different approach to it. It's supposed to be hell though, because chaos and hell and all that, since there's two enemy factions. You got those insect-like enemies and then the edgy guys that could be from the new Doom games. Why? No idea. Corruption happens to all of us. Some guy wanted humanity to become something greater, so he did experiments, and you can read all of that stuff on the loading screens which go backwards. First you read the stuff where everything went wrong, and the farther you go into the game, the more you get the early stuff, but I'm gonna be quite honest here, it doesn't really matter. You won't care about its backstory. All you need to know is that the Earth is fucked because of that experiment, because it created monsters, and then some other monsters take over those monsters, and you're a halfling, and that's how the game actually explains that your health gets healed instead of having to use medpacks, which is kinda cute. Sometimes you don't know if the writers of something actually thought they were cooking with it or if they were taking the piss. It's written in such a trashy way sometimes, but then there's so much backstory and information getting dropped with an ending that makes you think, okay, that it makes you think they were actually taking it seriously instead of actually wanting to write some trashy trash. But back to your partner, there's one of those in every tower or arc. You get a new one, yay. I mean, it's to be expected, right? You can't just show a mechanic like that to the player and then take it away for the rest of the game, even though the game just continues to do that. Every time you feel like you're getting the hang out of things with the combo throws, you get her taken away because you had to split up. Please don't do that. There's two throws. If you hold the L2 button long enough, it triggers a strong attack if you hit it against an enemy that can one-shot almost every single enemy except if they're a boss. And if you just tap it, you throw her into the air, which stuns enemies nearby. That's not all though. You can also punch and press triangle or the box button. I know it's not called the box button, but I really can't think of the correct name for that thing with 4 edges right now, and I will just leave this in the script so when I do the voiceover I have to read all of this stuff instead, because I'm too lazy to look up the correct word right now, and it triggers a combo, but half of the time it doesn't because your partner is busy doing her own thing. So every time you punch someone and you want to do a combo, it doesn't trigger the combo because she's like 50 feet away fighting some enemies by herself even though you want to fight with her. Often, you will probably also just throw her against the wall or cover because the hitbox of it can be a bit funky, but when you get used to it, it's actually fun, till they take it away from you. Like I said, whenever you find your groove with it, it's already gone till they give it back to you. Did they not notice this is probably the most fun thing about the game? Why would you take it away so often? Of course a baby will cry and start to hate you if you take its toys away, and I'm not a baby and I'm not crying, even though it sounds like I'm crying, but if you have fun mechanics, don't take them away from the player, please. You know what's fun? Playing with your toys and variety. That's what the devs thought too, so they put in a section where you are on the worm and have to aim at enemies like this. Does it play well? Hell no. It plays terribly because you just know the game was not made for this. Every time you try to aim, your aim gets messed up by the worm wiggling around and ruining it. Luckily even the devs knew how bad it is, so they play some random red blinking things that you shoot to make them explode. So you have to kill the enemies with those explosions instead of trying to actually shoot them yourself. If you fail doing it, well, just hope you will survive the incoming shots till the worm has enough and moves on. But hey, I would do the same. Sometimes you want to have cool set pieces instead of fun sections after all, right? Especially if they end up killing you because you don't know they're coming, like these windows. Most people would realize you have to shoot them yourself after crashing through one and taking damage. But not me. I would just tank them till I die. Okay, now that I know they will kill me, it's gonna be easy, right? Nope, the worm just passes out and gives you like 1 little second to actually react to the windows this time, so you will probably get hit anyways. Right after, it's time for an even more amazing section though. You have to beat a bunch of grunts, then some big baddie, and then the platform falls down, without you knowing. Okay, now I know it will break after I get rid of all the enemies. Thanks. Oh, this time it falls off way earlier. And again, I don't dislike the idea of it because it makes you run out of your cover, so you actually have to use your full moves with your dodges and all that, but having it randomly collapse is just not fun. Also, I will let you be the judge if this should have counted for me to land on the worm or not. I'm sure this should have not happened. The more you play, the more the game just makes you think it's not a diamond in the rough, but a pebble that you want to grab and just throw it into the lake or onto the head of another person, which you should never do because that's kinda bad, but we all felt that way at least once. Please say yes and don't leave me hanging. Well, I only said that so I could jump to the next topic, because if someone threw a stone at your head, you would go ow, ow, wow, wow, that hurt. And that's feedback that you gave to the other person, it actually hurt. It shows you a stone can be a mighty weapon, unlike the guns here. Some of them do tons of damage, like the one that shoots swords right out of it, because it mostly one-shots enemies, but the thing about it is, it doesn't really feel that great to shoot it. All of the weapons feel the same. It doesn't really matter what weapon you use, they don't give you a satisfying bop. If you play Counter-Strike, it just feels so nice to use your weapons because they give you exactly what you want out of them. Maybe it's not a fair comparison since that's a first-person shooter, but hey, life is unfair sometimes. Shooting a shotgun in it makes blonk, and the recoil shows you that you're wielding a powerful piece of metal. Here the shotgun feels more like a water gun. Shotguns in any shooter are the gun that have to make you leave stains in your pants when you use them. The ultimate test if your game feels satisfying or not. If any other weapon feels like poop, at least make the shotgun feel mighty, and there you go, a decent game. Despite the game also being pretty damn short, which can be a blessing sometimes in life, not every game needs to be super duper long. It just feels like, please let it end already. Mostly because it made my PlayStation 3 so hot. It also raised the temperature in my room and made me feel like I am in a sauna, getting grilled like the average German Weisswurst on your dad's grill. Every year I say summer won't be so bad this time, and then summer happens and I regret saying it. After an hour, you almost have seen everything the game throws at you in a gameplay perspective. The only thing changing is the scenery and some new enemies or bosses. You enter a room, there's enemies, you kill the enemies, you leave the room. You go through the hallway, enter a new room, there's enemies, you get the drill. Which is to be expected. I really don't want to suddenly solve puzzles in a straight game such as this, but everything just feels so uninspiring except for the location sometimes. One thing that I do want though is backstory. Yay, the game just thinks in the middle of the game towards the end, yep, we gotta see Sid's past where he joins his first group and they all hacking die to turn him into this emotionless, beefy man who just wants to get rid of all the monsters. Very original. It's kinda a nice change of pace though, because at this point in the game there's tons of stuff happening, things growing around you, and it gets a bit much. Here you just follow the linear path right before the game hits you with replayability. Choose the train or the right path. Obviously I picked the train because trains are cool, so if you want to know how the right path looks like, then you have to play it yourself, but it probably looks lame. At the end of this section you have to protect your friends planning some bombs, and goddamn is your partner stupid. He's always just protecting the person who needs no protecting right now since you're already doing it, so you have to constantly go left and right to make sure your partners are not dying even though they have multiple lives, kinda. So the game keeps dragging on and on and on, even after beating the final boss who you already had to fight a couple of times before, so he has like 6 phases if you count all of the fights together that you had to fight against him throughout the whole game. And the game actually does not end because the final boss was not the final boss, but this thing is some kind of AI that just talks about its goals and all that. To make humanity smarter, we have to give up our free will and become one together, and you know, I haven't really paid much attention to it because I have to kill these clones of my partner. I think that's a cooler fight than the very last phase of the other final boss. I think we can all agree on that just shooting random glowing parts of an enemy's huge body is just not really interesting. But shooting a big freaking flower is also not interesting. But that kinda goes for most of the bosses. They look kinda impressive, but you just shoot their weak point for massive damage and then it's over. Like the wings on this bird, or there's a fight where you fight the final boss in his tiny normal form where he suddenly gets a partner too, but she's a redhead. Damn, I wish I would be on the evil side now. This fight could have been cool if they didn't added random trash mobs in it too. If it was just you two against the evil two, fine, that's pretty damn cool. But nope, they just fill up the arena with random grunts and it's extremely annoying because you can't be in cover since it easily blows up, so you just run up and down waiting for your partner's throw to recharge so you can just throw her right at the boss. Yay. It also does one of the biggest crimes, credits that are just names. There's nothing else, just the names scrolling down, which is fine, good job on making this game, and everyone who worked on something deserves to see their name in the credits, but make them at least a tiny bit cool. Put some pictures from the game into the background, concept art, something, anything. Oh yeah, I'm totally gonna sit here and watch them and not just go to the bathroom or mow the lawn or anything else that is more fun. But yeah, there's a post-credit scene where you see them take on the next tower. Quantum Theory 2, coming to us any day now. I can't wait. When you play these type of games, there's two possible outcomes. Either it's actually an underrated game that was panned by players and critics, or it's really not that much of a good game. Sadly, it's the later here. Bosses that one-shot you, and some enemies that do that too. Like here, I just get randomly dropped into a tiny space with these two huge guys, and one whamming attack means insta-death, and you can expect it the first time, so you will die, and even afterwards till you finally survive it somehow. Why? And I only played it on the normal difficulty. I don't even want to imagine it on hard. Overall, I did enjoy the difficulty though. It's one of the rare cases where normal does feel normal. It doesn't feel hard, but it also doesn't feel easy. It does feel hard sometimes, but like not overly hard. Then you got janky jumps you have to do sometimes that will end up killing you, enemy AI that is pretty damn stupid but are good at hitting you, a fairly interesting art direction that sadly does not hold up throughout the whole game, and a story that starts trashy and funny and nice but turns into trashy serious stuff instead of keep giving you funny one-liners. But if you're addicted to third-person shooters and haven't played this one before, maybe then it's time to change it. If you're a masochist, then I would kind of recommend it, but please don't berate me for saying this if you end up hating it, or else I would be sad. With that said, I hope you enjoyed the video and will have a good night, a good day, or anything that fits your time zone. Bye bye. And you know, life is too short for bad games. Go read a book or something instead of playing this.